Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Crusin Car Club Talk with Randy and Robert. Hello, my name is Robert Helmer, and my co-host is Randy Weldon. Randy, can you tell us something about the show?
Yeah, Crusin's a show that's created to inform, educate, and get the community in touch with what's going on with our local car clubs and the events we put on and how those benefit the community and give back to, people in the community. So, but before we get into all that, you came up with this idea, and I'd really kind of like to get a little bit of a background on you. I know you've started multiple car clubs out here, but originally
a couple.
Originally, though, you had the idea for Northside Mustang Car Club. That was the first one that you started on this side of town, and the reason for that was what?
Oh, the reason for that was, it's 2009, and we're driving to Katy, Bel Air, 59 in Bel Air, and almost a 2-hour ride to get over there. And I forgot what Ford dealer they were sponsored by, but we kept asking ourselves every Saturday, why are we doing this when we live in Kingwood and Humble and in the north part of town? And so there's got to be something on the north side of Houston, for us to do other than driving all the way to the south side of town every weekend. And so kind of like let everybody know, hey, I love Mustang. It was the Mustang Club of Houston we were in. And I said, hey, guys, we really love this club, but we can't be doing this we're going to start our own little thing. And so we're going to call it Northside Mustang Car Club. And we got together and had our first car show at Kilgore's Pub on 1960 and 45. And bought a couple of trophies, did a car show, enrolled people, and had about 33 members. And kind of took off from there. It was not a quick takeoff, not a quick grow, but it did grow. In 2010, we incorporated. We were sponsored by Tony Gullo, and we had our first car show at Gullo in 2010, and that's when it really took off. That's when it really had some roots to it.
So wait a minute, because I've joined Mustang Club of Houston before I joined Northside, and it was the same thing. We had to drive an hour to get to any meeting.
Right.
There was one meeting a month, but then they'd have dinners or they might have something else going on. You're putting your car through, you're kind of in jeopardy getting out there, getting rock chips, driving through the city of Houston. So that was all important on this side of town. But this originally started with you having an idea. If I'm not mistaken, you were tossing this idea back and forth on forums.
Yeah, there was a couple. There was one called Quicken, not F-Quick. Yeah, that's what it was, F-Quick. It's no longer there anymore, but that was a forum board that we were talking about. There wasn't a whole lot back then as far as forums. And so we're tossing it back and forth. And, I got some criticism, why reinvent the wheel kind of thing, but then they understood about the drive.
Well, there was friction. There's always been a little bit of friction between clubs here and there somewhere.
It was more like competition. Like
we're seen as competition.
Yeah, we were seen as competition. We're seen as like we were competing with their members. And it took a while for two clubs to understand that we can both have fun together. And after a while, I think everybody understood that it was nothing about the other club. We were just trying to all have fun at the same time. And after a while, about 2 years, I think the other club actually started supporting Northside.
Yeah.
They actually came to our shows, and it started to grow. And eventually, Northside members were Mustang Club of Houston members.
I'm still a Mustang Club of Houston member.
So that's where, after the while, the competition thing kind of went away. Yeah.
So, yeah, when that first started, and you faced some opposition, I think even getting set up as a charter club for Mustang Club of America for a little bit.
Right.
But there's a lot you learned along the way. I mean, you got set up as a nonprofit.
Yes.
And that was a learning experience, I believe.
Yeah, and an expensive experience, too. Yeah.
Well, in what way was it expensive?
Well, that was $500 right off the bat as the lawyer to incorporate us.
So outside of the incorporation, you got your federal ID number. As
Federal
a
ID
nonprofit.
number and everything. Also, I learned when you incorporate and you start nominating board members, and I remember the first signing when all the board members that I nominated, we went to a restaurant and we rented the space, and I showed them the incorporation book and they all signed. And then after you do that, you kind of like realize I created this club. I've got the incorporation now done. I gave it a name, I gave it logos, and we've done shows, but I'm actually right now giving this club away.
To these board members.
To the members. And that's one of the things I always been very spoken out about is any one club that's incorporated, you're a 501c, you're a paid member, that is your club. It's not, it's everybody's club.
It's the members' club.
It's the members' club. Yeah. Just because somebody's on the board doesn't mean that they got all authority to run it any way they want. It's the members who have the loudest voice. And that's one of the things I've always wanted is for them to do that.
Well, I think right now with Northside and the leadership they've got with Vernon Wilhelm, there's a lot of member participation at this point.
Yes, he has a lot of support from his members. And
well, he bounces everything off his members first.
Right.
Before he takes any action on it. But back when you started, I know that the Mustang Club of America, in order to get chartered as a regional charter club with that national club, you had to have at least 10 Mustang Club of America members. So that, and I believe you had to be in operation for a year with a checkbook.
Yeah, and we also had to have the okay from the Mustang Club of Houston.
Right. The local club had to approve you in the process.
Yes.
Yeah. So you got all that out of the way.
Yep.
You got set up. What was the next roadblock that you remember running into?
The next roadblock was just growing the club. Trying to get the youth in was, even at an early stage of Northside, was one of the things. Just trying to get more people in.
I remember when I came along, there were 48 members.
Yes.
Initially. I think that was at the end of 2011, somewhere around there.
Right.
But then we grew quite a bit in the next couple of years,
Yeah.
got to 92 members, eventually to 564. It shrunk during COVID, but it's on its way back now.
And the people watching may not know that Randy was the third president of Northside, and I think one of the largest growing membership-wise at any time. So I think you did a great, fantastic job at that.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. A lot of people stepping up to volunteer, and that's really what made the growth happen. That's what always makes the growth happen. But people have to be having fun in the process. So.
I believe at the end of your administration, you had, 200, 300 members?
Well, memberships. We were counting husband and wife, so we had like 564 total.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was what did you learn in the process of starting to put on car shows? Because you learn real quick, I think, that you're in a negative position.
Take them real serious, real seriously.
You're talking about the trophies.
Trophies, everything. There's things that I missed, during the show because there's so much going on during the show. You're making sure that everybody's parked correctly. You have enough staff. Your trophies are there. Your T-shirts are there. All your vendors are all lined up, and you're just making sure everything's going correctly. The first show, somebody came in with a Chevrolet motor. And this is at Gullo Ford.
At the all Ford show.
It's an all Ford show. We had that on the flyer. It had to be Ford driven. This guy came in, and one of the reasons why he he got out of the radar was he brought in about 4 cars. So, and he donated $100 right off the bat. He entered his car. He donated $100. So I told everybody the car can stay, but it's just not going to be in the awards.
It wasn't going to be judged.
It was not going to be judged. It was supposed to have been pulled, but at the end of the show, I didn't go back and check that, and it didn't get pulled, and it actually got a trophy. And you would have thought World War III started.
I found out pretty quick you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, you can't. And you can't beat yourself up for that. You know, just somebody to walk. Somebody complains. But then again, what rewards you the most is when people come up and tell you, "This is one of the best shows I've ever. I'm coming back. It's one of the best shows I've ever been at." So, that makes it all worthwhile right there.
It does. What'd you find out about when covering your costs initially?
Well, it's kind of hard for me because being the founder and the first president, I never made $1 off of it. I was $200 or $300 in the hole all the time because I was starting it off.
So you were funding it.
I was funding it. It's funny, the first treasurer we had in the second administration took over and said, how much money is in the bank? And he goes, well, really, this is Robert's checkbook. So it's like, we're kind of like starting over. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you learn that process. You've got to go out and get your sponsors lined up if you're going to put on a show.
Right.
You've got to know that you've got your costs covered for trophies. If you're paying a disc jockey to be there, you've got to have that covered. You've got to have T-shirts covered. Water, all that stuff comes into play, right?
Yeah, it's not – running a car show is not what you would call business savvy. It's not an example of running a business because you spend $1,000 to make $1,000. People and you're hoping your sponsors get you out of that to where you can donate. So yeah, it's not doesn't make a lot of business sense in the way it works.
Well, yeah, and I also remember having people accuse us of, and I say us in this car show enthusiast community, taking the entry fee money and making a killing off of that.
Right.
And the reality is you're breaking even if you, and because a lot of times you don't have enough sponsors to cover everything.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you can make any sort of a profit, you've done good. And I seem to remember hearing that during your first show, you had a check for Mr. Gullo for his Gullo's Foundation, Christmas Kid for Kids Foundation.
Yeah, Tony Gullo is up there and he's explaining everything about Christmas for Kids and what all they do and how they spend $600 per kid. And after he made that statement, I went up there with the check at the end of the show and said, thank you, Tony, and here's your $600 check. So it's like, I only sponsored one kid.
Well, I know now that Vernon's in place and he's collecting a lot of sponsorship money.
Yes.
He's able to give back easily $2,500 to $3,000 or more a year now.
Yes, Vernon has a very good opportunity because he travels, and he meets a lot of his contractors and people that he deals with. And he's able to make a lot of contacts and asking them for sponsorships and corporate sponsorships at that. So yes, he can bring. He's in a position to bring in a lot of money.
Well, let's talk about again as the club grew. It doesn't always go smooth. You'll have board members that come in and all of a sudden they can do things better or think they can do things better than you were doing them, and they want control of the club. You never really understand a person's motivation or if their heart's in the right place.
No.
So it's kind of the negative side of things, but that happens, and a good club will ferret through that and continue to operate and thrive and survive.
Yeah. You do learn a lot about people. You see the good sides and bad sides of them, and you can't really tell until they're actually in the position to do harm.
And they do, if they have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They come in thinking, oh, great, this person wants to do everything in the world, and is willing to help. Then when we get in a position of any kind of power at all, you'll see that you got the wrong person there. Yeah.
I just thought of another expense that we never really talk about, but photography. A lot of times, we have guys come out and they'll want to sell their photographs. We've been fortunate recently in that the guys will do it at no charge.
Right.
We've got some good club photographers, but we've had that as an expense in the past as well.
Yeah.
Any sort of food, stuff like that.
Flyers, promotional.
I forgot
material.
about the flyers.
Yeah, the promotional material. We have a great graphics person right now, Pixelworks, and really good people making our logos for the show. And but yeah, it's expensive. And flyers. I remember people were making flyers at their home and having a printer with only 2 colors. And when I came in, I went to a professional printer and done professional graphics. And the flyers cost $300 or $400
To have created.
it was $150 for the creation of it, and I think it was another $200 for the printing. But people had never saw that before.
A professional
flyer. And I remember when I brought that to the Mustang Club of Houston, and I started passing out professional printed flyers, and it just blew them away. It's like they never saw that before. Now everybody, that's all they do.
Well, there's other associated expenses too. When you start thinking about cones to cone off a parking lot.
I've got a couple $100 of parking cones in the garage now.
If you're putting on a show, you've got to have people that are going to funnel the traffic, make sure that you get them parked right. You've got to have people to park.
And another thing we need to go into is there's non-incorporated car clubs and incorporated car clubs. The ones that what I'm talking about is when you actually incorporate your car club, you go out and get insurance. That way,
event insurance.
That way, when if you have any incident at your event, you're covered. Well, these other car clubs that pop up, they're not organized, they are not incorporated. They don't have that expense. And that's another thing a lot of people don't understand.
Well, we see that a lot where a club, or what I like to call a group, will form, and they have a few events, and then they fade away for the most part. But yeah, having insurance that covers, really it's additional insured insurance. Right. You've got your club insurance, that's an annual insurance policy, and then you've got other event insurance policies. So if we're holding it on a specific site, let's say out at League Line Road at the outlet malls, they're insured for $2 million.
Right. That's a one-day events insurance.
Yep, one-day event.
One day.
But that's if somebody accidentally hits the gas and runs over somebody or whatever it may be. They run into the building.
That's an added cost to that car show. And that's where a lot of people don't understand. It's like, man, why is it $30 to enter my car? Well, we got these costs, Yeah,
and not all covered by the entry fee.
That's right.
And nowadays we're using car show software to do tally for judging and stuff like that. Yeah. There's an expense added on for that. There's a lot of this that you start compiling. You also need to start planning at least 4 months in advance for a car show.
Yeah, most of these car shows are planned 4 to 6 months in advance, especially for the location. The location sometimes needs that time in advance to get the flyers out and get everything on the social media. And also, car show people usually write their calendar out. They know what car shows they're going to 2 or 3 weeks in advance. And that's a little bit how Northside also started. There used to be a car show list on, remember the Camaro Kid?
Yep, sure do.
What was his name? Bob White?
Bob, yeah.
Bob White, I believe it was.
I think it was Wright. Bob Wright, yeah.
That's where everybody went. They went to his website, they looked at the list, and everybody picked out what car show they were going to off that list. And so we would all go to a car show and see the same group of people. And especially all the Mustang people, we would all go, like the Keem of the car show, and all of us would show up. And that's another reason Northside started. Northside actually started with a reputation of being a car show club.
Yes, he did.
That's all we did. So it was really hard for us to break into the tracks and the stuff like that because everybody had we had this reputation to just going to car shows.
Yeah, I can remember using Bob Wright's Camaro Kid calendar as well.
Yeah,
as
it's gone
else.
away now, and we really miss it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we do. But you're right. We would meet up based on his calendars, whether it be down in Akima,
Right.
or wherever we met up at, and then started putting on the car shows and became known pretty much for fair judging and holding high standards and stuff like that.
Right.
But we were pretty specific to Mustangs at the time.
Right.
And that's kind of evolved more to open shows. So we get folks in from like the guys at the Conroe Cruisers.
Right.
And other
Yeah,
clubs.
you want to do your one-time, once a year Ford show, but you also want to do your open show so you get all the car clubs to come and support you. Because and that's another thing is all the car clubs out there need to support each other. They need to go to each other's shows and actually support them.
Well, I think we've gotten to that level too now. We've got folks as far away as Beaumont, even Longview, Texas, will drive down for a Northside show,
Right.
and we try to support those people back.
Yeah, that's why it's so important not to schedule somebody's show on top of somebody else's show. That's why everybody
Which happens.
needs to look at the calendar and make sure we all give everybody equal time.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as the growth pattern on this thing, you got any hints for anybody out there that, how to organize it originally and then how to grow it over a period of time?
Well, if I had the answer to how to grow it, we wouldn't be asking ourselves all the time that. But you gotta offer everything for everybody. You can't be just a one thing car club. It has to be like to go into you have a person going to a track, you have a person going to a show, you have a person doing a cruise. You have to be something for everybody.
Well, and that's one of the things that Northside evolved around to as well is you've got chairman of committees. You've got a guy that goes to the drag strip, and he heads that committee up. You've got a guy that goes to the open road course. You've got somebody that does autocross. And you've got somebody that's interested in organizing dinners or cruises. We just did a cruise. Northside just did a cruise.
And all that takes members. It takes people. And that's where we need to keep the membership constantly growing and constantly getting that energy back so people do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, I'm out of questions. So, anything else that you can think of that you've got in there, that any plans or anything that you had? What about some of the upcoming shows down on the south side of town? Wild Horse won't reschedule theirs. They canceled for this weekend.
And it's
because of rain.
Not going to.
No, it'll go till the fall.
Was it the third cancellation?
No, it's the second one, but they're not going to. Yeah, because we're getting into summer, it just gets too hot for everybody.
Okay. I really don't have anything other than the events, other than the North Side show in November.
November 2nd over at Bull Solace Park.
Right. And that is the one that we're planning next.
Hey, also, I did want to mention, just after I walked into the studio, we had a Northside member pass away this morning. I found out, I got via text, that Jennifer Briggs passed away today. She and her son
Nicholas.
Nicholas, she got involved in the club when Nicholas, I think, was about 9 or 10 years old,
right,
because he loved Mustangs.
Right.
And so he's now in his 20s, but yeah, she passed away this morning. So sorry to hear that too.
Okay, next segment was car show news.
All righty, what do you have on car show news, man?
Car show news. One thing I've got here is a bill that was just passed in California, number 961. The bill mandates that all new car manufacturers are sold in California must be equipped with a passive speed governor, referred to as AS, also known as Intelligent Speed Assistance Systems. Now, what this does, unlike like the electronic limiters, it physically limits the speed on the vehicle. The Bill 961 proposes the Intelligent System Assistance System would utilize a brief one-time visual and audio signal to alert the driver that he's going 10 miles over the speed limit. It's audio and a video signal. And it comes on each time you go over 10 miles an hour. It's not just going to come over once, it's going to come on repeatedly. So that was just something, and why I bring that up is normally if it starts in California, it's eventually going to come here. It may be mandated only for California cars like that. Remember the pollution controls?
Yes, we all live with that.
It started in California, and it went all across and became mandated all across the country. So this is just something to look out for. It's probably going to be, if the manufacturers have to put it in the cars for California, they're pretty much going to put them in all of them.
So let me get this straight. We've got a bill out there that's going to mandate that if you go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, you get a visual and audible notification.
Right. And
then you're supposed to back down from that speed?
I guess so, or it's not going to stop.
It'll continue to remind you.
It'll continue as long as you continue over 10 miles an hour.
I thought you said it was a one-time notification.
One time, but it's going to be continuous if you keep going over. It'll keep coming up, back on. See, if you drop down and then you go back up to 10 miles over the speed limit, it's going to come back on.
Yeah, but for some reason I envision that being getting to a point where this is a law that gets out of control, and they start taking control of your vehicle and backing you down. I mean, look, admittedly, speed is the number one killer on the highways out there. Now, that may have been surpassed by texting or something.
And this is one, I think the transit people are the ones that actually were backing the bill because of the death toll for speeding. But we're looking at the wide range of what this bill might do later on.
Well, it's not on my favorites list.
Yeah, I mean, you already have the physical limit on the vehicle now at 115. I know that's pretty fast, 115, but that actually cuts down. That actually shuts down the vehicle now. But you got this now coming up where you're going 10 miles an hour. My thing is, if the flow of traffic is 10 miles over the speed limit, what are you supposed to do? How is that working? Does it become to where the driver can't concentrate with this thing beeping all the time?
Or again, do they take control of your vehicle and back your speed down?
One of the speculations was when the alarm goes off, are they going to notify anyone? Say they notify the local law authority and say, hey, this car down here is 10 miles over the speed limit or something. We don't know. Or it could report to your insurance company, We just don't know where it's going to lead into.
I can certainly see them reporting to your insurance company, but as long as we've got these mapping programs out there that will let us announce where the police are sitting, we can come up with some blockers.
So that was one of the things I had. Did you have anything on anything?
My favorite subject.
Yeah, I know. One of the segments I was going to, but I didn't get enough material in, was EV pros and cons. So I haven't got material on that. But.
Well, okay, but we were talking about judging EVs earlier. Yeah. How do you judge them? You can't just judge them on cleanliness.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole different thing for car shows there.
But you've got to dig into the technical capabilities offered in the software.
Yeah, and another thing is too, you've already got them showing up at car shows. It's not like we got to get ready for this. They're already coming.
Oh yeah, we've given out awards for them.
I think Mustang Club of America has already got their categories for them, right?
They do. Yeah. You have to. Yeah. I mean, Ford is a big sponsor of Mustang Club of America. That's one of their vehicles. Yeah. So.
And I also went to Motor Trend magazine, and I don't know if you've been to that website in a while.
I haven't.
It's like 9 out of 10 are EVs. All their reviews.
That they're talking about, yeah.
Yes. So I did not know how many different vehicles out there were EVs already. You have a wide selection. So there are a lot of people that are behind them.
Well, you've got to look at it on a bigger picture than the United States, because you've got this is a global push for electric. A lot of this, goes back to Europe where they don't have the streets like we have here. Certainly, you don't have the speed limits. There's a big need over there for electric vehicles.
Yeah, and I guess the pros and cons is we be talking about the environmental. What material does it take to make an EV? The battery itself. What are you going to do with it when it's no good? We were talking about it. Is it hazardous waste now after the battery's bad? Where are we going to store all the batteries later on? Another news story that was on this week was somebody actually went to the Tesla recharging station and cut all the wires and stowed the cable.
For some reason that
they're all copper.
I got to think that was you.
No.
Out there.
No. But
I'll fix this problem.
But that was just, one of the things that you might be seeing in the future is that. I noticed also over in this area is like you don't see a whole lot of charging stations. So if I had an EV right now driving from Cleveland and Conroe and all that stuff, I don't know other than having one installed in my home where I would actually go charge right now.
What's the average distance? About
It's
300 miles?
200.
200 miles.
Yeah.
So if you get from here to Corsicana, and there's the Collins Street Bakery up there, and they've got a ton of charging stations, and you'll see those things every time I pass one here, Waco, wherever. They are jam full of cars that are recharging.
Right. And another thing is not all charging stations charge time-wise the same.
Yeah, the same speed.
The same
Yep.
speed. There are reports where people are going on vacation thinking that they're going to be there for a couple of hours, and then we're there 8 hours waiting for their charge to be full. So
You get a good nap.
yeah,
Or my age, you get a good nap. Yeah. But I know they don't all charge at the same speed, but I do know that Ford started using Tesla's charging plug. So it doesn't matter if it's a Ford or a Tesla, you can charge at their stations, at the Tesla stations.
well, I'm sure Tesla's making some money off of that.
Good chance.
Yeah.
Good chance.
So it's a growing segment. We're going to continue with this. We're going to get the pros and cons, and so we'll hash this out some more.
Well, we'll do it. Why don't we take a break, and then we come back, we'll introduce our guest.
Okay.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
You're on, dude.
Okay. Hello. Our guest today is Terry Barrett. He is the vice president of the Conroe Cruisers Car Club. Welcome to Crusin, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Conroe Cruisers and how long they've been around?
Well, Conroe Cruisers is a nonprofit group. We have 34 family members. We're our family organization, strictly a nonprofit, and we're trying to promote the interest of automobiles, cars, trucks, different various vehicles. And we basically focus on the classic and antique hobby. And I've been in the club for 30 years.
Man, that's a long time.
And it started in 1987. That's when our first group started out. And I believe it was in existence for 7 years when I joined up.
Oh, yeah, that's good history right there.
You guys actually get into modifying what I consider a real hot rod.
Well, yes.
You take a car that was a car and you make it a muscle car, but a lot of that involves fabricating your parts, doesn't it?
Some of them do. Some of them have newer cars that they just do their own custom touches to. And a lot of them, there's quite a few people that have just stock basic cars with just original restoration. And some of them, they update them with the modern features such as disc brakes, air conditioning, of course. And that's part of the country you need air conditioning.
Yeah, you do need a little bit of air conditioning.
That's true.
The two vent operation, it doesn't work too well.
Yeah, 40, 60 windows, two windows down, 60 mile an hour doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
So y'all welcome all cars.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and all your car shows are open to all makes and models.
That
all
is
manufacturers.
correct.
Yeah. I've won a trophy with you guys before over here on the square.
Oh, well, there you go. That's been a while back.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, we moved over off of League Line Road and 45 every year for our show. We had 2 shows a year until the last 2 years, and it just got to where it wasn't cost effective to have a fall show. So we're down to 1 show a year, and it's usually the first Saturday after Mother's Day.
Yeah. You can make a whole different show trying to explain to people what it involves in a car show. And,
Oh, yes.
sometimes you break even, sometimes you don't. Sometimes, your sponsors come in and save you.
Right. All the proceeds that we get from our show, it all goes back into the community.
Right. How does people join your club?
Well, we've got 34 family members now. We've had as many as 100,
Yeah.
and we've had it down as little as 6.
What is the membership dues?
Membership dues are $40 a year,
Okay.
and it's always due at 1st of January, and it's good for all year.
And they sign up on the website?
You can sign up on the webpage. We have our regular ConroeCruisers.com at yahoo.com, and we also have Conroe Cruisers on Facebook.
Okay.
And you sign up now. We just recently got into the Facebook, and I believe they have where you can sign up and pay online, but I'm not sure if they've got it set up yet for membership or sponsors. It's just basically show entries is what we've done so far.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the scholarship program?
Well, the scholarship we did this year, it goes to high school seniors that are graduating in Conroe ISD, and we give the scholarship directly to the students instead of going to whatever college that they're going to attend.
Okay. How do you fund the students?
Well, we go out with an application, and we have different people in the car club that'll interview them, and then we just make a decision on, depending on how much money we have for the scholarship, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4 people.
Okay.
And this year we only had 2 people just because of the amount of money that was available.
And where were they going? Did they say what they were going to do in the future?
Well, they do the automotive tech school. That's where they're going,
I
and that
gotcha.
was a reason for the scholarship.
I got you. That's great. What about Project Christmas?
We do that. The money that we have left toward the end of the year after the other things, we get children that are in need that really wouldn't have a Christmas unless they got something from us, and seniors. Some people in a senior home that have no family,
Right.
and we've given to them in the past, and we just try to help out anybody that we can.
No, sounds good. Okay. Have any questions?
Yeah, actually, I went through Conroe High School. That's where I graduated from. Matter of fact, I took driver's ed was required back then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, my parallel parking was done right outside this building.
Uh-oh.
Back in that day, it was this was still 2 ways, so it was a quiet street over here. But does the high school still have auto mechanics and auto body as part of the vocational school training over there?
I believe Conroe High School, I believe, does have it. I'm not sure about New Caney or any one of those. And then the other ones that we have is Lone Star College. It's here. They have the automotive tech school.
So you guys reach into Lone Star, or do you just stick with Conroe High School?
We stick with the individual students instead of giving the money to the college for them to distribute it. And
Is that their requirement, Lone Star? If you donate money or have some sort of a scholarship, you've got to give it to the college instead of just to a student?
Well, this is a requirement of us,
Okay.
of the car club, to go to the student. That way we know the student does get it.
Yeah, and then what you answered earlier on the vocational school or the mechanical school,
Mm-hmm.
they pick that. The student picks that. So it's somebody like UTI or somebody like that.
Well, if they want to go to any type of school that they're interested in, the money will go to the student, and it'll go in their account at whatever school that they choose.
So it doesn't matter if it's WyoTech, it doesn't matter if it's in-state, out-of-state, you don't care.
No, it's good. It's going to the student.
We just try to keep it local as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And y'all, you have Gullo Ford as a sponsor.
This year,
Yeah,
that's correct. He was one of our sponsors.
Yes, and I'm sure y'all been to the Gullo Museum.
Oh yes.
So he's definitely one of the best people you can meet, one of the best sponsors you could have.
Oh
also.
yeah. Tony Senior, man, he's just a real nice fella. I mean, he takes care of people.
Yep.
And he does have quite a few automobiles inside his buildings.
Got a few out there.
I've been there probably a half a dozen times.
I know y'all just got through finishing your car show. Do y'all have any other events coming up?
Right now, we just basically go to different events from other people. Other groups that have their car show will attend.
Right.
And we have, well, for instance, the place in Willis that had Chambers Creek community, the retirement homes. They had an opening, and we attended that. You had Tomball Lions Club. They got rained out at first, but
it's always a big one.
Yeah, that was a real big one. That a lot of members attend that.
Yeah.
It's just different ones in the area. As long as we don't have to drive 150 miles one way to get there, that's fine.
Do y'all do a lot of cruises?
It just depends on the weather and the time and the amount of people we get together. Sometimes we only get 2 or 3 people want to go somewhere, and it's really, not really a good idea at the time.
I also know we can find you at Kroger's parking lot, right?
That is correct.
Is that every Saturday?
South 336 on the west side of 45. It's first and third Saturday of the month.
Okay.
As long as the weather permitting.
What time of day is that?
We had it previously from 5 to 8 because, of the still cooler temperatures, but now it's 6 to 9. Summer's here, so we meet a little later so it stays cooler a little longer.
Yep.
And it helps.
No, that's great.
Terry, you just had a car show that Robert referred to, but just a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
That was on the 18th.
On the 18th of
this
May.
month, right.
Yeah. How many cars did you have turn out? Because every time I've been out to one of your events, it's been a pretty large turnout.
We had 77 registered cars at the last show, plus members' cars. And that would probably be a total of 89 cars that we had.
Right around 100. You're getting close to 100 at
Close
that
to
point,
100. Yeah. We've had as many as 130 before, and we've had as few as 60.
And what was your fee to enter the show?
It was $30.
$30, and then after proceeds and everything goes to charity.
Right. All the proceeds we go, we pay for our expenses, and then our sponsors are paying for the T-shirts and trophies. And the show itself, once we get through, it's almost like a cattle stampede. Everybody trying to get out of there.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
But it was a good show.
Yeah.
And the weather was real good, too, so that helped.
Y'all do a great job of getting sponsors, because if you ever see whether it's T-shirts, they have 20 or 30 sponsors on the back of that thing.
Well, this year we had a total of 31 sponsors.
And
that was a
great,
record.
Because usually, especially after COVID, sponsorship went down.
Oh,
it
yes.
was really, really hard to get sponsorships.
It was what everybody was struggling after that.
Right.
I mean, the economy exploded, really. The price of everything went up. And a lot of people wasn't getting business coming in, so they would have enough to be able to be a sponsor. And we lost probably a half a dozen sponsors because of it.
Yeah.
But some of our other sponsors, and we picked up new ones since then.
Well, that shows you have a great support in the community that you can keep those sponsors like that.
We do. And we advertise, and as for myself, you'll see me in basically a show shirt that we've had, and I've got the sponsor's name on the back of them. Somebody comes and asks me a question about any kind of mechanical stuff or whatever. I say, well, check out our sponsor on the back, and I just turn, show them my shoulder, and say, here you go, name, phone number.
Another question we got is, I don't know, like all car clubs right now are struggling with trying to get in the youth. How do you get young people to join?
Well, we just try to get to their interest, and we have a young man that's already 16 starting out, and some of the people in the club started out as young people. It's just started beginners, and they still in the club. But then as they get older, they move on to other things.
Right.
But we still try to get the younger people, and the families that join us, they got kids. They grow up in the car club, and some of them stay as members.
Yeah.
So
You see it as more of a family event, not just one person joining a club, and you always see the husband, and also you see the wife and the kids. You see the whole family enjoying the car club.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for our last car show, for instance, we had a lot of people doing a lot of things, but the wives came out. They took care of the T-shirt, the registration, credit cards coming in to use. We had the app that you hook up to your phone, run a credit card through, and it works out great.
Yep.
And then we also had the silent auction, had some of the wives running it as well. So it was pretty good. Everybody pitches in and does everything they can.
Yeah, you have a good group for volunteers. I've noticed that.
We do.
Do you have you ever noticed that when you get the younger kids in, like they'll gravitate to one manufacturer's make or model of a car? And
Yes, sadly to say, a lot of younger people wants to go to what I call a soup can, rice burners.
they like
Rice
those
burners.
rice burners.
Yeah,
they sure do.
they like the tuner cars.
Yeah.
As far as myself, I like one with a carburetor on it, none of that electronic garbage. That's the way to go.
Something that doesn't sound like a lawnmower engine.
Thank you. Exactly.
Do you have a favorite car in the club? One particular that sticks out?
Yeah, I've got a '39 Chevy Coupe.
Okay.
It's I got it at our show this last Saturday on the 18th, and took it home. It had a couple of issues, so I fixed them. I pulled it in the garage, put the cover on it, said I'd do it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
It's that ongoing project, right?
It is. If you got an old classic car, it's never complete. It's always under
Yep.
construction.
Yeah. It's like once you make that one modification, it never stops.
That's right.
It's
Keep-
ongoing.
Keep on going.
Yeah. And then by the time you get to what you want to finish up, first thing you started on, it breaks down. You got to go back and do it
that's-
again.
That's right.
So
Right.
it's an ongoing process.
Yeah. How's how's your wife with this? She's are you married?
Well, divorced, but she still stays there at the house for temporarily.
I know that situation actually.
Yeah.
So, but does she support all along? Did she support your desire and your passion?
Oh, yes.
Your hobby for the cars.
Yeah, she was looking for a '77 Trans Am like she used to have, which unfortunately you can't really find one that's still in decent shape anymore for a reasonable price.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they were hard to find.
But she actually came out. She helped with the show, and she had a good time.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. And when the show was over, she had her truck that was out there with us, and everything that we had to take as far as the car club equipment and stuff, had to put it in storage. Well, Mike, our president, did not have enough room in his vehicle to take it out there, so we loaded it in her truck. We all went out to storage and did it. Got it unloaded. By the time we got home, it's kind of like, turn the lights out, I'm taking a nap.
Yeah. Well, that heat in this area,
Oh, man.
naps are required afterwards.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. Do you during your show? I mean, you guys all really. I've seen you before. You work really well together. Everybody knows their part. They all pitch in to do whatever it takes to make the show happen.
Right.
But afterwards, during teardown, is it the same as pretty much you see everywhere else? People are just they want to help, but they're kind of putting stuff in the wrong place, and you end up having to sort that stuff out later
Well,
or find it.
That's not, that could be a yes, but the way things have been going at every show, everybody knows where everything really has to go, and everybody pitches in and do what they can. And it's not all that bad. And it goes by real quick. And we get the vendors set up. Like as far as myself, I take care of vendors that come to the show. And then once I get them set up, I'll go out and judge. And that's what I did at the last show. By the time I got through with that, I'm turning around looking, oh, show's over?
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
all of your shows judging shows?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have 5, 7, 8, 9, depending on how many cars we have. We try to keep as many judges as we can.
Right. And how do you train them?
Well, we go on a point system, and we have a meeting. And most of the people that are judges have judged before, so they have an idea of what goes on.
What to look for.
And what to look for. And what we try to do is just observe the cars coming in, kind of pick at them when they first come in and look at them. And then as we get ready to judge, you walk around the car and just kind of get an idea of it, and then you start working on it and doing the judging. And it takes maybe about 5 minutes per car.
Is it one judge per car, or is it two judges per car? Or
Well, you have one judge per class.
per class.
You get each car is broke down into classes, and when they register, they'll sign up for what class they want to be in. And then by the time the registration is over, they take all the forms and hand to the judge that has that class, and he'll go out and look for them. And we have numbers on the windshield. You look for that number that corresponds with what's on the registration form.
Right.
And then once you get there, get your judging, and then you get through, turn them back in, pick up another class if they need to. And then as far as Mike, our president, and myself, we'll go out and judge the best of show. Get the car in the truck, and we judge the paint, the interior, and the engine in them. And the rest of the judges will go out and judge individually. And so it works out real well.
That's good.
How do you classify your cars?
Well, you classify them from 1900 to 1930, and then or 1929, and then 30 to 39 and so up. And we have 20 classes.
20 classes. Okay.
Yeah, and that way we have enough trophies to hand out. And then we have the what we call a president's choice. And everybody has a story with a car. So we'll pick one out. It'll have a story about it, and that would be the one that would get the trophy, depending on which one it is.
So on those classifications, you can have different makes and models all in that particular class. It's done by year models?
It's done by year model, but you can have Ford, Chevy, Dodge, even a different type of foreign car if you want to. I believe we have on our classes a class for imports. So that would be another class. But it goes by the year of each class. And then once you get set up what you want, it's you going to make the choice when you go sign up and register.
And then, so when you're judging, are you judging, I know you judge on like best paint, do you judge on the wheels? How do you judge on the engine?
Well, we judge on a list on each different section that's broke down on the form. You go with the exterior, and then you go with the interior, then you go with the engine. And you look under the hood at the engine, and it's all painted up, done nice, clean, and everything's in its place. You don't have a bunch of wires just scattered all over the place like you're patching up a wiring harness or something. I mean, it looks professionally done, but you're going to give it a good job. And you find the best one that's out there, and that's where you get your best engine.
Yeah.
And you do it in a car as well as a truck.
Have you ever heard that when people come, oh, you don't have my class? How come? Or is there anything like having too many classes?
He's getting back to EVs now.
We don't have a class for EVs. Thank you. It'll be probably after I'm already gone before
they add that class.
Yeah, I figure as old as we are now, the next class we'll have for hover around scooters.
Well, they're starting to show up in other car shows.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's one of the things you got to think about. How do you judge that? You do it on how quickly the battery's draining. I mean, because there's all sorts of data, technical stuff that's pretty cool that's coming along with those cars.
But I don't even want to go there.
Yeah, no, you and everybody else that's a combustion engine guy. Nobody wants to go there.
I want to hear the sound of that V8
that's right.
roaring. But to answer your question over there, well, you don't have my class? Yes, we do. It's called an open class.
An open class.
Yeah, if you got some strange out, we even have a rat rod class.
Right.
So we got a class for everybody.
Okay, sounds good.
Now that certainly, you guys, like I say, you always have a good turnout and you have a big show. You do a great job on awards.
Oh, thank you.
I
mean, appreciate it.
I've been right there, and like I say, I've taken one home from you, and but watched the whole process putting them on. You make it enjoyable for everybody.
And the way we do the awards, we try to make it where no one person gets 2 or 3, 4 awards.
Right.
And it's just kind of like spread the wealth, so to speak. And I think that's a fair way to do it for everybody.
Hey, you used to hold your show on Father's Day weekend, didn't you?
That's correct.
And then now you've moved it. I'm assuming it's like everybody's getting older and maybe we can get away from the heat a little bit?
Mother Nature is not nice to us on
No.
Father's Day.
I'm right there with you, man.
The last show we had was in 22. It was 110 degrees on the parking lot. I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah, shade's hard to find, too.
Oh, yeah. And it's, you get it where it's too hot, people won't show up. And most of the people that come in there, they're older, and they don't want to take the heat either.
That's why you see the car show schedule starting to move around a little bit.
That's correct.
It used to be dead in the middle of August.
Right.
And I've actually seen people actually pass out in the middle of August at a car show.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's why you see the schedule moving. It's as early as February.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. But we have 85 degrees last year, and when it was out there, and it's like almost 90 degrees this year. That wasn't as bad as tolerable. But that 110 degrees, it's just impossible.
Yeah, it's a little miserable, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Combine that with the humidity.
Oh, yes.
What do you do to do you pre-plan anything for heat exhaustion or anything when people are out on the show field? Is other than, I know you probably bring some water.
We bring plenty of water and ice chests, and we keep them iced down. And we normally have 2, 3, 4 ice chests. And some of us will stop and get ice on the way to the show that morning. Start loading the water up and icing it down. And we just try to keep that. This year we had one of our sponsors, their wife was an RN, and she was there at the show to help out, which that was a good thing to have. And this is our first year that's ever happened. But we've got a great group of sponsors too.
Yeah, and that's important for
It
all of
is.
us out there.
It is.
Yeah.
But
All right,
we've actually contributed to quite a few groups and everything that needed our help. And it's kind of like sponsors are helping us, so we're helping the community back as well.
Anytime you see a community need, the car clubs are always there.
Oh, absolutely.
How do you choose your charities?
We just have different people that know of different groups, and they bring them to the meeting, and we just go ahead and say, well, we got this much. We can give these people this much. We have another group. We can give them that much money. And some of the groups that we've had, we got the Conroe Little League, for instance.
Okay.
Kids that really can't afford to get out and buy them a new glove or bat, to play the Little League. We contribute to the club, and that money goes to help them pay for the glove and the bats.
Right.
And these are kids that are not as fortunate as some of the other ones. And we figure keep them on a baseball field, it keeps them off the streets.
Yes, sir.
So that helps. And it gives them a good, outlook and, a good goal.
It also makes you feel good being in the club when you can do things like that.
Oh, absolutely. And then we got the Conroe Police Department charities we contributed to this year. That money goes to the women's shelter and then a couple of other groups that they contribute to. It helps them out as well as other groups. The scholarship program, as we mentioned before, goes to the seniors graduating in Conroe ISD, and that helps them out a whole lot. And these are students that actually, they could probably go to college, but they don't have quite enough funds to really get what they need.
Well, we need people going to trade schools too, though.
Yeah, and we also have church groups that we contribute to, their youth program, and that works out pretty good because some of the kids in these youth programs, they just don't have as much as they would like to, so it helps them out as well. And they will have to go to summer camp to learn to be a better person. The money kind of helps with that as well.
Right.
So that's just some of the donations we've contributed to this year. And we've got one group of families. It's called Donation to a Family Promise. It's assistance for families that are homeless. And they just unexpectedly, all of a sudden now they have no home to go to. So this helps them out as well. And so it all comes around back into the community.
Well, with a bunch of car guys, they're just getting together, hang out because they like each other, enjoy hanging out behind their car in parking lots. You guys
absolutely.
are spreading that around quite well in the community here.
Yeah, and when I started in the car club, they've been doing it ever since, and that's one reason I'm still in the club, because it's just what I like to do. And it does help out. I do all I can.
Yeah, it makes you feel good in the process.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Knowing that you're helping somebody else, that does make a difference.
It does.
Yeah.
But
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
thank you for having me.
Terry Burnett. Oh, okay. And who's your vice president again?
I'm the vice president.
I mean, the president, Mike?
Mike Wilson is our
Mike
president.
Wilson.
Yes,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.